This computer keeps blue screening and we have no idea why. So it's time to get into the diagnosis of that, see what I can do, and see if I can actually get files recovered for this customer so we can get her up and running again. Alright guys, so tonight we're actually having a look at this Asus ZenBook. Not one that I've actually seen in here yet, but the customer says it doesn't turn on. Impressive that she still has the original box, but she's saying that she ultimately just needs files off of it. And you can tell it's well used because it's got some stuff on the top. So let's set aside the original packaging here. She also told me that the thing doesn't power on without being plugged in, so I'm going to check that just to be 100% sure. And if we can find the power button, they're always different on each one of these machines. There it is. So not that I don't believe the customer, it's just that sometimes the machine does power on. It might just not last very long. This definitely doesn't power on. So we'll plug it in here. It's got a USB-C charger. And again, guys, sorry for the mess on the desk here. It's just kind of how life is all the time around here. Let's see if it turns on now. Well, the button is lit up, so let's see if we get signs of life. Alright guys, and here I'm just going to speed everything up for you because honestly this part takes forever anyway. So essentially what I do here is I do a quick Google of the blue screen that just happened, and then I go in and attempt a system restore, but there's no restore points available. So typical, you know, kind of what you expect. And then I actually decided to check and see if the drive was encrypted. And it looks like it is encrypted, so I basically go through and start that decryption process. And the reason I like to decrypt the drive before trying to recover things is just because you have to have the BitLocker recovery key. And if it's a local user account, there's usually not a BitLocker recovery key associated with it that the customer even knows about. This customer did have a local account as opposed to a Microsoft account where they would manage those recovery keys. So what you'll see me do here is start to check on the status. I just go up and then press enter because I'm just rerunning the last command. I get a little bored. Up and check the status. Up and check the status. And the drive would have been encrypted. Alright, so our status right now says fully decrypted. Percentage encrypted 0% and protection off. So we are good to go. So I've got a 2 terabyte SSD attached. I've also got an Ubuntu flash drive attached here. So what we're going to do now is just exit command prompt and we're going to get started with it. Okay, so we're going to select use a device and we're going to say UEFI removable device right here. And that should get us started in Linux. We'll say try or install Ubuntu. And now the reason I'm doing it this way is because it's going to be easiest without having to open the machine physically to be able to take care of the issue that's at hand here, which is really just backing up files to an external drive. Once the files are backed up, then I can always restore everything that's needed back to the drive once it's been taken care of. But for now, we'll boot into Ubuntu and we will get files recovered. We're gonna close this because we're not actually setting up Ubuntu, and that way we can just start using it to access what we need here. So first and foremost, what we'll do here, we'll look at the volumes that are available and we'll kind of start from there. So this says OS and SSD. OS is the volume and it's showing us that it's an SSD. This is I actually don't see my 2 terabyte drive in here, so I'm gonna pull that and we're gonna plug it back in. That's fine. I don't care about the volume there. What I do care about is this. Okay guys, so I can actually see the OS drive here, and this is what you can see. I've got it pulled up here. You can see it says Windows, Windows Old, Users, Program Files, and so on and so forth. We click on Users, we can see that her name is right here. Her name is Connie. And then under there you can actually see all of her information, all the files and things that she has. Now, the main issue I'm having right now, for some weird reason, is that my drive isn't connected. And of course, because nothing ever goes quite as planned, my drive didn't connect. So what I wound up having to do was actually get this customer's computer connected up to my network. And then from there, I was able to create a data recovery folder for her on my server. And then I just decided after that I'd throw everything in that folder, and that's how we wound up restoring it back. This whole process here is just me connecting to the server, getting the folders in order, and then here we go. And just because I know you guys are going to find this part probably pretty boring too, I am fast forwarding through it. This is just me transferring her files from her computer drive, well, I guess from the PC's drive over to my server. You can see I'm clicking and dragging, and you're starting to see that left-hand side fill up. The left-hand side is where all of her documents, photos, everything like that actually are. This customer didn't have a ton of documents, but she had a lot of photos. And I think that was the primary concern, was the photos, because she had some photos for her daughter's wedding. She had some photos of her sister's wedding, I think. And then she did have like a full iTunes library that needed to be transferred over too. So that's pretty much it. At this point, wait.
It's on.
Alright guys, so we're back here. Files are officially all transferred now, and those are transferred again, like I said, to my network drive. So we are good to go ahead and wipe this computer. I am going to check on just a secondary device here to make sure that those files did transfer over. So give me just a second here. Wonderful. It looks like everything is here. Everything is here. Okay, perfect. So we're good to go. No worries on that front. So we're going to just go ahead and shut down the PC for the time being. So I'll come down here to, actually on Linux, it's up here in the upper right hand corner. You just press a little power button and then you say, well, power off. And then you just power off the machine. Right? Now I'm going to grab my Windows 11 installation disk here and we'll get that going. And all this message says is, please remove the installation medium, then press enter. So that's what we'll do. Just remove that, press enter, and the computer should shut down for us. So, that being said, I'm going to take our Windows 11 installer, plug it in. We'll turn the computer back on here. And I think it's escape on ASUS laptops for the boot menu. Sure is. Down to UEFI SanDisk. And this should just do its thing on its own. Now, I use an unattended Windows 11 installer, which makes these installs just zip super fast. So, enjoy. Uh-oh. This aired out, which means that the drive didn't work. And it probably wiped my unattended install, which is just lovely. So, that means that this drive is not visible to the computer itself, which means that we have to open it up after all and replace the SSD with a working SSD. So, we'll get rolling on that, I guess. So that's it for now. little curious what we're working with here. A lot of times when I pull these, I see that they're covered up in there. Some kind of base model Western Digital drive. Wow. We don't even get to know. It's glued. It's literally glued. Oh, I guess it's not literally glued. It's glued on one side anyway. Let's pop this off and see what this memory module says. SanDisk. So yeah, this was a SanDisk SSD that failed. We also have a bad battery here that's going to need to be replaced, but I can just pull the model number off of that without having to pull that battery right now anyway. So what I'm going to do is take these external screws, I'm going to put them over here, and that's what when I'm saying over here, I mean my magnetic tray where I store screws. And then I'm going to cross my fingers and hope that it's not too late to order a drive for overnight delivery. And I'll get it sent this way, I guess. Check this out. So Walmart Plus came in clutch. We got a new 1 terabyte NVMe PNY brand. And we got it delivered in like 20 minutes from Walmart. So pretty much better than anything I could ask on Amazon. Amazon was looking like Saturday, or I guess tomorrow's the 30th. They had some options for tomorrow the 30th, but nothing for tonight. And it's hard to beat that, right? So we'll go ahead and plug this new NVMe drive in here. And we'll, at the very least, we'll get Windows installed. Because, after all, that's the main goal of this, right? Get Windows installed, we'll get those files restored. And be all good to go. My puppy is laying in here with me, and she is uncomfortable. Or at least she's trying to stretch out anyway. Alright, now that SSD is in, I don't have the back cover put back on because I do still have to pull the model number off of the battery. But what we're going to do is plug in the laptop, plug in the Windows 11 installer. That I actually, you know what? I do have to recreate this, so bear with me a few more minutes. Should just automatically boot to the flash drive since there's no bootable media otherwise. Now we don't have a mouse, and I guess that's fine. We don't need one. We'll say yes, I agree. Next. And then it's gonna say, oh, okay. Oh, I think it kicked us to the classic installer. Okay. Well, whatever. Didn't press tab enough times. Still don't have mouse functionality. But I'm okay with that. I've done plenty of Windows installs where I didn't have mouse functionality, so. Okay, so here's the issue that we're gonna face, and that's that we need to load the driver for it. And we'll go back down here to Browse. There we go. And there we go. Okay, so we have it now. We'll just select that, and then it should see our PNY drive. This is one thing I get really irritated with when working on Windows machines, because, or not Windows machines, but Intel machines, because AMD machines just don't have this problem. We'll say next. And we'll let it do its thing, and it should zip right through it pretty easily. But again, it's gonna automatically encrypt this copy of Windows, because it's just how it is. And we'll be right back. Alright, here we go. We're restarting. Finally gonna get this thing back to a usable format here. Alright, time to actually get this Windows install done. Let's see if we actually have a mouse that we can use. Probably not, still. Yep. Okay, but we can pull the USB, because we don't need that anymore. So we'll say yes for United States. Yes for US. Skip a second keyboard layout. I'm going to try the Shift F10 trick here. And it worked, yes. I'll switch windows with Alt Tab, and then we'll do OOBE / bypass NRO. And that should, basically what we're doing is bypassing network required operation. So this will allow us to set up the user account as a local account instead of a Microsoft account, which is what she originally had anyway, was a local account. Just a moment. Basically what it does is it just restarts the setup process. And then the mouse driver will likely install itself after everything boots into Windows and we're connected to the network. So okay, United States, yes. Yes. Skip. And we're going to tab down to I do not have internet, even though we do. Just so that we can set up a local user account. We're going to call this Connie. And say next. And next, because we don't want a password on it. And then we'll go through and no, and accept. Turn off all that information stealing stuff. It says hi. Blah blah blah, getting stuff ready for you. Basically what it's doing is it's fixing to show you Microsoft Edge and all that stuff. Eventually I'll show you guys my regular installer if I can ever figure out how to slipstream these drivers into my Windows 11 USB. I know I can do it using NT Lite, but I can't do it for every single different machine I encounter. So I'm kind of hoping that they streamline the rapid storage technology driver for Intel. Wait, it's just one driver, it works for everything. Looks like we might be getting close. There we go, almost there. And bingo, we're at the desktop. Alright, so then we'll go settings and then network. Go to Wi-Fi settings and tab, show available networks. We'll hook up to my 5G here. Gordon Wi-Fi 5G will connect. Next, and there we go. Then all the drivers should start coming in. I should be able to start using the mouse shortly, and then from this point is customizations, really. Personalizing the machine, bringing the data back in, which is going to be a fairly easy thing to do, especially now that we're on the network here. I don't want to have to do all these operations with just my freaking keyboard here, but I can show you. This part we're going to speed up to, just because this is just me connecting to the server, pulling back down files and starting that restore process. Eventually, as you can see there, the mouse does start to work, and you can see files are starting to transfer. So I don't want to show you all of her files and things, so that's why this is going a little faster. Stay tuned for the battery repair. So what we're going to do here is just work on pulling the old one out. Pull these screws out. Battery replacements on these guys are fairly straightforward. The worst part tends to be the connector, because I have large fingers and the batteries are usually battery connectors are usually pretty small. There we go. But yeah, it's fairly simple. It's usually just a few screws. On HPs it lifts off of the board, and on these Asus computers it actually unplugs. And I'll show you how that works here momentarily. I like these magnets here. They're nice and sturdy, but they do tend to attract the screws to them. So it's probably going to make it a little difficult to get the screws back in. But not the biggest deal in the world. One more screw right here near the battery connector. Alright, I think we got all the screws for the battery out. So basically how this works, there's a little metal tab here. Right, take that metal tab, you pull it towards yourself, not too far. And then you just take, if you've got like me, like this, you just take this and you pick it up. And then the battery pops right out of there. Like so. Piece of cake. Alright, Asus battery going away. So we got our really good replacement. And we'll just slide the battery. We're going to slide it into its position here first. Some batteries you have to slide into the connector first. When it comes to a connector like this, I usually say slide the battery into position first and then put in a couple of screws and then put your connector in. I'm actually going to go for the hardest screws to put in to begin with, because I find the magnetic ones really annoying. The other ones right next to the magnet, very annoying. Just put my finger over the magnet and put the screw in. Finger over the magnet. Screw in. There we go. Now it actually looks like this connector is a little bent on the new battery, but not in such a way that it's going to be awful to install. So we're gonna take our screwdriver bit, we're gonna slide it under there, and then position the connector. Because how it works here is it just kind of slides onto the pins here. Like so, and then you slide that metal piece back into position, and there you go, the battery's installed. So now just put the rest of the screws back in and we'll be good to go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Alright, so now that the screws are all in and the battery's plugged in, let's see if this guy boots up right away for us. Shall we? Alright, I'm turning it to face you guys, so I'm not going to see it right offhand, but I'm going to guess we'll do just fine. Wait for that Asus logo to pop up here. There it is. Voila, working computer. So, just to recap what we've done here, we replaced the bad drive with a good drive. We pulled all the data off using a Linux install or a Linux live drive, and moved that data off to a secondary server, put it back on the computer, and then we bought a new battery, installed that after installing the drive, and we're good to go. So this computer is completely fixed and ready to go. If you guys like this content, please smash that like button, and also hit subscribe, because I would love to have you as a regular viewer. You can always see more content like this, and you know, if this is boring, always pop over and you can look at my shorts as well. So anyway, that's it for this video. Thanks for watching, guys.